Hi, I'm Pamela and welcome back to Longevity Gardens, and today we're going to garden. I'm beside a raised bed here in the back of my yard that I never planted out. I was actually going to move it and I was going to empty it and move it, but I never did, and it sat here for several months. And actually today I decided to plant it out with last month's seed bank box. For some reason it just ended up being one of my favorite boxes that I put out, and I'm going to plant it in this raised bed. But first I have to resurrect it because it hasn't been used in almost a year. And a lot of people have one of these in their yard. Sometimes, you take a break from gardening, or you live somewhere where it snows and the snow is melted and it's time to plant out the garden, or for whatever reason. Everyone sometimes has a bed in their garden that they haven't used in a while, but they decide today's the day they're gonna do it. So I'm gonna show you guys how I do mine, that I've had a lot of success with. And actually, one of the questions that I get when I give my seminars or talks, everyone wants to know what I do to my garden beds, and what do I do to amend my soil. And so we're going to go through that today of what I do. It was actually a question that I get so often. Here, I put it on a card, like my recipe that I use for my garden, and I found this one in the back of the yard. These are really durable. I had them printed on material that you can't rip it. You can get it wet, you can crinkle it up, and it still just go like this. So it has to last like year after year in your garden, and it's gonna sometimes be out in the snow for a whole year, and then you just go like this, and you'll still be able to read it. So it's like a cheat sheet that I give to people. Anyway, so on one side, here we go. On one side, it's got what I do to raise beds, and on the other side is what I use and the things I do when I'm planting a tree. So we're gonna use this side today. So everyone needs a cheat sheet. Even I need a cheat sheet. I'm gonna forget one of the ingredients somehow, even though I've done it 100 times. So first things first, because this bed hasn't been used in a long time, it is rock hard. Like, it hasn't been watered. A lot of people use the no-till method, and that's awesome, but it works only, I think, if you're constantly using that bed and just replanting it, and the bed has not sat for a long time. But this one has. So the first thing we got to do is till this up. You can see how much it's gone down, and it's gone down like it normally does, but it's also gone down because I've been pinching a lot of the soil that's in here for other things that are going on, because I was eventually going to empty it, but now I'm not. So I'm going to have to add quite a bit more to this. But you're going to want to till a garden that you haven't used in a while, because if you try to plant like root vegetables in there or something, like carrots, you're going to have really crooked carrots. It needs to be nice and fluffy so it has room to expand out. Or your potatoes are going to get really small, or if you try to plant beets, you're just going to get a bunch of beet tops, and there's not going to be a beet down there because it couldn't fluff out into the soil. So I'm going to till this all up first, and we'll just skip it. You don't need to watch me do this. Okay, so I fluffed it all up. It's all nice and soft now. Now what's in here is only one ingredient, and that is Bioactive Compost. The one I use is this one. So the one I use is this one. Do you see it? Hang on. This is the one I use here. I get this one from Lowe's, my local Lowe's here, and it's made locally. So everyone will have to kind of just source their own compost depending on where they live, because you're going to have to find bioactive compost, which means it's alive. It hasn't been sitting on the shelf for a year, that came from out of state. So just go and talk to the people that work at your local nursery, or Home Depot or things like that, and find out which one on the shelf is local and new to the shelves, that hasn't been sitting there for a while, and you're going to have better luck with it. And so that is what's on. Let's go back to our cheat sheet. Can you see Venus? We'll go back to our cheat sheet. So it says on the bottom 50% is just bioactive compost, and that's always what's on here. Now the top 50% is kind of like the top dressing, where all the expensive materials are, and the very nutrient things are, and everything the seed will need to have a good start in life, you know, and all the nutrients that are going to go into your vegetables, all the good stuff is going to be just on the top layer, and that's what we're going to do. So if you're starting a brand new bed, the bottom 50% or the bottom layer is all going to be just compost. If you're just amending a bed, like an old bed like this one, we're going to just use the top 50% right here. So I like to do equal parts to make it easy for myself, and I've had a lot of success with that. So equal parts of 3 ingredients. Okay, and we'll recap these and also put like descriptions in the video. I'll tell you guys where you can get this stuff. So 3 things: bioactive compost, coconut coir, and worm castings. Dun, dun, dun. Those are the 3 main ingredients on the top layer of your soil. So 50% is bioactive compost, and I'm going to use some more of that again today. Another one, and sorry, this one was in the back here, so it's kind of dirty. This is coconut coir. Now this is just simply a it's like a sponge for the soil. It's going to hold the water, so your plants have water in between waterings, so they don't dry out. And here in the desert in Arizona, you need a lot of this stuff. I like using coconut coir because it's very renewable. It's not like, you know, some people like to use peat moss, but peat moss is finite, you know, like there's only so much of it in the world. We can always make more coconut coir. So, and I really like using that. And this one you can just get off Amazon. So this is it. It's just a big block. So I'm going to put this in a bin with water, and it's going to expand and break out and be about 5 times bigger than this. So I'm gonna do that, and I'll show you guys that. So compost, coconut coir, and another thing. Worm castings, which is basically just worm poo. It's so nutritional for your plants, so dense. It's the 3rd main ingredient on that top salad dressing layer. It's almost like any kind of recipe, you know. Everyone has their own little tweak to it, but consider like these ingredients, like, you know, when you're making cookies and you have the bag of chocolate chips, the recipe that's on the actual bag, that's like your base for any recipe, but you can always tweak it and add a little bit more to it to make it better. So as long as you have these 3 ingredients, you're really good to go to start. But on top of these, we're going to add just a couple more things that will give you better success. Okay, so one of those, and this is the one that I sell, that you can look in the description below. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm starting to sweat already, it's hot. Rock dust minerals. Rock dust. This comes from a quarry in Utah that I get. Minerals are really, really important to put back into your soil. This stuff is so important. I could probably make a video talking all day long about how important it is to have minerals in your soil and to put minerals in your soil. Because when you add them to your soil, it'll go into the plant, it'll go into the food, it'll go into you. And one of the main reasons why all of us are getting sick, and cancers and asthmas and all kinds of things like that, is because we don't have minerals in our food anymore. Our agricultural practices have depleted our soils of all minerals. And the way we still do agriculture today, they don't put those minerals back in. They put petrochemicals and force the plants to grow that way. But when you home garden in your backyard, you can put the minerals straight into your soil. So it's really, really important. So this is Azomite. A to Z of minerals, including trace elements. Azomite. So I used to use the micronized one. I've switched over to granular just because it's so much easier to work with. And it's the same thing. It's almost like a slow release, and it smells nice. Oh, it almost smells like chocolate. And you can't smell the mineralized one because it'll go up in your nose. But here, let me show you what it looks like. So it almost looks like it's just little pebbles. So this is going to put all the minerals back into your food and then back into you, so you don't get sick. And it makes your food taste so much better. Like tomatoes taste like tomatoes again, carrots taste like carrots again. And everything is just so much alive and nutritious for you, but you have to put this stuff in. So I'm going to stop there because I can talk all day long about why you need to put minerals in your soil. Azomite, rock dust minerals. Okay, so that's like, an ingredient that, you can definitely plant a garden without it, but if you put this in here, your vegetables are going to be that much better. So that's one item. that we're going to add to our basic recipe. I do have some of this stuff, and this is for you. This is, oh, this one's dirty, sorry. This is just an organic fertilizer that will not burn your plants, that's completely nutritious and universal. So I like putting a little bit more like fertilizer and nutrients, because anything my plants need, I want them to have it. And I don't have to guess that there's going to be something missing in my soil. So I add a very natural vegan fertilizer to my soil as well. And there's one thing that I do sell that I add to my raised beds that you don't, again, you don't have to, but I have better success when I do it. And it's something that a lot of people haven't heard of. It's called mycorrhiza, which is a fungus. It's the fungus that talks to all living things, all living plants. And it's kind of like, to describe it, it's kind of like the internet for plants, you know, like if your garden bed needs something that it doesn't have, how does it get it without you putting it in there? It's in the environment, but it needs to be able to source it. Say the garden bed next to it has it. Well, if you put this stuff in there, it's like plugging a cord into the internet. You're going to plug in and tap into that entire ecosystem and be able to draw in the things that your garden bed needs. And it's huge component when you're planting trees, especially when you're planting trees. But it works for garden beds as well. And say that, you know, your yard doesn't even have what it needs, but you know, your neighbor's yard does, or across the neighborhood, their garden does. This is very vast. This network is very vast, but you just have to tap into it. So this is like, you know, adding like that pinch of salt in a recipe. You just need a smidge, but it helps get that whole thing started, and it lets you tap into that entire system. So it's really important, and the bag's are really small because you just need a little bit. So we're going to start mixing all this up, and we're going to build just that top layer and amend it and get ready to plant some seeds. And so let's just get started. First things first. First things first is I gotta put this in water because this takes about 15 minutes to expand. So let's do that. Okay. Nothing fancy. I just have a plastic bin here. Just a plastic bin here. And I'm just gonna fill it with some water. Okay, so let's see, that is going to eventually all break up and expand out, and it's probably going to fill that entire bin. So we're going to wait on that, and let's mix all the other ingredients. Okay, I'm going to use one of my big wheelbarrows. You won't be able to see me, but you don't need to. You need to see the ingredients. So let's get started with this one. So this is the compost. So okay, so here's our compost. It doesn't have too big of particles in it. It's got a little bit of stuff, so it's all nice and alive, active compost. So we need 1/3 of that. Next one is we need our worm castings. And let me try and show you the difference of the two. You can kind of see how different they are. The worm castings have just a little bit, it's very fine compared to the compost, and it's just, you can tell, like when it's nice and rich and dark like that, you can almost tell that it's more nutritious. So about 1/3 of this one. About 1/3 of that, and now we need our coconut coir, which is almost done. See, it's all breaking up. So I'll start shoveling all this stuff into there. Okay, so these are our 3 main ingredients. We have compost, bioactive compost, the worm castings, which are like black gold, really. It's so nutritious, and it's black. A little bit more black compared to the compost, and then this is just the coconut coir. Now remember, coconut coir does not have any nutrients in it. It's just the sponge that's going to hold on to the water to help your plants so they don't dry out. Okay, so those are our 3 ingredients, the main ingredients that you need for the top layer when you're amending a bed. Now let's keep adding to this. We have our Azomite, the rock dust mineral, and we're just going to put some of that in there. Now, you can't overdo it with this stuff. It's not a fertilizer. Don't worry about overdoing it with your minerals. This is not a fertilizer. You can use as much as you want, and you don't have to worry about hurting your plants with it. Really, the more the better, but you know, it's just going to put the minerals back into your food. Very important. Okay, and one of the last ingredients that I'm putting here is the mycorrhiza. This is that the beneficial fungus, and you just, you know what, you just need a sprinkle, like about like that. Is, remember, it's like maybe a little bit more. It's just like the salt in your recipe, and those are your main ingredients, and you're good to go with this. Now, if you wanted to, you could add more organic fertilizer that will help with your vegetable garden. This is an option if you really, you know, it's not necessary. I might add it after my plants first take off, but not when I first drop the seeds. So I'm going to leave this out for now and put it in later. Okay, so before I start mixing all this together, let's just recap. So we have 3 equal parts of bioactive compost, worm castings, coconut coir, and then I have the Azomite, the rock dust minerals, and we have just a sprinkle of that fungus that will tap us into the gardening internet, kinda, you know, and that is the mycorrhiza. And let's mix all this together, and then we're gonna dump it into the garden bed. Okay, just like that, we resurrected a garden bed. We amended it. It's completely ready to go now to start planting seeds, or if you want to go to the nursery and get a bunch of seedlings and put in there, it's ready. And you're going to have a lot of success, I think, with this recipe. Everything that you saw me use here, a lot of those little ingredients, just in the description, I'm going to put links on where to get some of this stuff, because some of it can be hard to source. And at seedbankbox.com, where they're all sold, you get 50% off if you order more than $50, so that's always good. So this bed I am going to plant out last month's seed bank box. This ended up being one of my favorite boxes for some reason. Everything that went in here was just so much fun. So this is what it looks like if you're a member and you get a box, and if you open it up, it's got a nice little package of seeds here that I wrap, and I also included just one of these just for gardening notes. So you can kind of paste it to the side of the box or organize it. So on this box, I'm going to put the date and what I planted and where the bed is and things like that, because you will forget. I mean, you got to take notes sometimes when you have a lot going on. So that's always good to include in the box. So, and this is what it looks like. All right, let's open it up. So each box of seeds has a package. It's got one of my welcome cards, and each package of seeds will have a nice little description about what it is. So, oh, I don't know, these will be for guests. I'm not one for hot peppers, but other people are, and this is one of like the hottest peppers that you can grow, these habanero peppers. They're the orange habaneros, so one of those. The bronze fennel is another one that I put in there, which is a lot of fun. Golden zucchini, and now's the time to plant like golden zucchini. Package of those. Red Reuben basil. Do you have any idea how good your food looks when you add some of this basil to it? And it tastes amazing. It's one of my favorite basils, and I hadn't put it into any of the boxes before, but this box had some, so it was fun. Everyone, now's the time to start planting your watermelon. There was one of those. I do put a spoiler on the website, and this was the spoiler. Jasper squash was the spoiler that I put on the website. So this is, I was really happy when I sourced these and I found them to put in the boxes, so that was a lot of fun. Everyone needs a lot of cilantro. Cilantro seeds are in this one. And a very rare peaches and cream corn is going over there. So package of those. So I'm going to take all of these seeds. I won't film it because that can make the video too long and problematic. But this was last month's box of seeds that I'm going to plant this whole bed in. And I might go to the nursery and get a few seedlings because it's kind of late in the season for some of the things that I want to grow in this box. So I'm going to do that. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you got something out of this video about how I plant out my beds. Make sure you share this video because a lot of people don't know that I've started doing this yet. Started making videos of the things that I'm doing in my garden this year, and the places that you can find the products that I use. In the future, probably this next week, I'm going to be filming a video with a botanist that came out with some really great products that he just developed this year, and I'm really excited to have him on my channel and to start offering his products because they really look amazing. Because I got a couple of sick mango trees in my yard, and we're going to try to use some of his products to cure some of the sick trees that I have here, and I'm really excited about it, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, thanks for watching. In the comments, leave me comments about what else you want to see that I do here. I want to show you this. I spend so much time in my garden. I bought this. Check that out. It's a little tiny stool. It saves my knees. I use this stool whenever I'm gardening. If you wonder how I'm sitting here, I'm sitting on a little tiny stool that I found in Chinatown in San Francisco. I found this little stool and I was like, I need one of those for my garden. It'll save me, because some people like to kneel and things, but I like to just sit a little. So if you ever see one of these, it's amazing for your garden. It'll save your knees, because when I'm 80, I'll still be able to garden just the same because my knees will be okay. Yeah, anything you need, just look in the description below. Make sure you like and share this video so people can find me and find Longevity Gardens, so you don't miss how to plant some fun things. And this is going to be a nice go-to video, I think, for anyone who wants to resurrect a garden bed and wants to amend it and wants to find out how to amend it. And so you can go to seedbankbox.com to get one of the cards if you need a cheat sheet for your garden. That's it. I'm going to sign off with a clip, a video that I took the other day of 2 of my cats making out in my living room. It was really cute. They make out all the time, but it just never gets old, and I just love it.